Relatively quiet at the moment, but a different scene expected in the coming days in both venues when the mayor will have to enter a plea to the charges.
We have team coverage here for you tonight at 11. Political reporter Marcia Kramer has been working this story all night. Let's begin with Allie Bauman live outside Gracie Mansion tonight. Allie, what's the scene there?
Well, Christina Maurice, in a taped video message sent through his attorney tonight, Mayor Adams is maintaining his innocence, though he doesn't specify what exactly he's being charged with. Adams said that he's been fighting injustices throughout his life and vowed to fight what he calls these injustices with every ounce of his strength and spirit.
It is now my belief that the federal government intends to charge me with crimes. If so, these charges will be entirely false, based on lies.
In a video statement Wednesday night, Mayor Eric Adams says he will fight back against the federal criminal charges.
I always knew that if I stood my ground for all of you, that I would be a target, and a target I became.
Over the last few months, federal investigators have raided the homes and seized electronics from the mayor and many in his inner circle, including former NYPD Commissioner Edward Caban, who stepped down earlier this month.
So there's a traffic jam of investigations, subpoenas, searches, devices being seen. But this is the first thing we've seen that will actually result, we are told, in a charge being brought forth tomorrow.
Earlier Wednesday, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez became the most prominent Democrat to call for the mayor to resign, posting on social media, "The flood of resignations and vacancies are threatening government function. For the good of the city, he should resign." Adams shot back, penning in part for anyone who self-righteously claims people charged with serious crime should not be in jail to now say that the second black mayor of New York should resign because of rumors and innuendo is the height of hypocrisy. Wednesday, the outgoing school's chancellor insisted his decision to retire in the middle of the academic year this December was made before federal agents raided his home, which the 62-year-old shares with fiancée First Deputy Mayor Sheena Wright and the home of his brother, Deputy Mayor for Public Safety Philip Banks.
David is my brother, and the Banks family are my family. I valued Phil, who rose to the level of being the highest ranking person in charge of the police department, patrol force.
And tonight, the mayor is getting ahead of what's becoming a growing list of calls for his resignation, saying in the statement that he can understand why New Yorkers would be concerned that he can't continue to do the job while facing these accusations, but saying, quote, "New Yorkers elected me to lead this city, so, quote, lead it, I will." Live outside Gracie Mansion on the Upper East Side, Allie Bauman, CBS News, New York.
All right, Allie, thank you.
And we're joined now by political reporter Marcia Kramer. A whole lot to go through here, Marcia. An angry, defiant mayor tonight. We looked at him there requesting an immediate trial. That's a stunning thing to do. What's going on there?
I think that he absolutely believes that he did nothing wrong. And you heard in his statement that he's going to fight this with every ounce of his strength and his spirit. And I think that he intends to try to prove that he did nothing wrong. The real question is, what are the charges and who else may be involved and what charged with as well?
You know, Maurice and I interviewed the mayor back in November during a live broadcast, and I asked him point blank if he felt he was being targeted. He gave a political correct answer, but tonight he alluded to something else in that video statement. He believes he is being targeted.
Well, he believes, according to that statement, he believes that he was targeted by the Justice Department after he publicly attacked the immigration policies of the Biden administration. And I think that you can understand that some New Yorkers may believe that what he says is true because he did take a very strident stance against the president's immigration policies at a time when the president was running for re-election and really cared about that. And it was sort of interesting that the raid that was done on the home of his chief fundraiser, Breonna Suggs, was on the very morning that he was in Washington at the White House for a conference on immigration, and he had to turn around and come back. There's a nexus there.
He really feels he can beat this. Does that appear to be a real thing? I mean, like you said, an everyday person may look at this and say, look, he feels he fought immigration policies, and now he's being persecuted. He really feels he has a case.
Well, here's the thing. Public corruption charges and cases are very difficult to prove. And even in cases where there's been convictions, like Joe Percoco, who was a top aide to Governor Cuomo, they are overturned. So he does feel he has a chance. And remember, if he fights it and he gets an immediate trial, I mean, I don't know how immediate it can be. Federal government takes a long time. But if he does, he might be able to even beat it, and he could conceivably run for re-election. Hard to believe, but he could.
You've been covering politics in this city for
a long time.
A long time.
Just a minute.
A minute or two, Marcia. Historically speaking, have you ever seen anything like this happen so quickly? I mean, the former commissioner resigns 2 days after the acting commissioner is in office. His home is also raided. So many dominoes falling so quickly.
Well, remember that this probe actually began last November, so it's 10 months. So it's not as if it was just a minute. It just seems like it's very big because all of a sudden a whole bunch of things happened. They served more subpoenas this summer. They then sought subpoenas from some of his top aides. What it says is that they have developed information as they started to branch out from this probe, and that's caused them to seek more information. And that's why they were seeking the phones and documents from people going forward.
Widening the net.
All right, the politics, so much going on here. What does your gut tell you? What's going to happen next?
Well, I think that's what's going to happen is two things. Number one, there's going to be an avalanche of calls for him to resign.
There are tonight.
And then you have to see whether he agrees. But then there's another thing that has to happen. The governor of the state of New York does have the ability to remove him from office. It remains to be seen whether she does or whether she lets him have his day in court. But there's going to be pressure on her as well to remove him from office. We have to wait to see what happens. Because remember this, he needs to fill out the rest of his government. A lot of people have resigned. How is he going to get people to take these jobs if he's under a cloud? And
how does the city continue to run under this kind of situation?
Well,
right?
He has an argument to that. He says, I've been investigated since November. Crime is down, jobs are up, tourism is up. I got a record. That's his answer.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with that for now. To be continued for sure. Marcia, thank you.
Marcia, thank you for that insight. Let's continue our coverage now with Hofstra University law professor James Sample. Professor, we don't know what these charges are just yet. The indictment remains sealed. But do you think that they must be pretty serious if you're going to charge a sitting mayor of New York City?
Christine, I do think that that is likely the case. And I think that what we know about the Southern District of New York and federal prosecutors in general is that they are not likely to bring a case against a prominent figure unless they really feel that they've got the entire thing buttoned up very tightly. We don't know. They're essentially, part of the complexity here is that there are 4 separate investigations. The 3 primary investigations and the 3 likely sources of the charges, or one of the 3, this seems like the most likely and the one that's being reported as, according to the insiders who seem to have sources on this, that this is tied to likely Mayor Adams acting as an unregistered foreign agent, and particularly vis-a-vis his relationship with members of the Turkish government and Turkish nationals funneling campaign contributions to him in exchange for some official action. But as Marcia said, corruption charges are very, very difficult to prove. And even on appeal, as she said, where there have been some convictions, it is difficult to establish that the official act, the quid pro quo that was taken in response to even foreign donations, is one that can be categorized as corrupt as opposed to politics as usual. This will be an interesting matter for sure.
Professor, before we let you go, what are the mechanics of what happens next? The indictment is unsealed, then what happens to the mayor? Does he go into a courtroom? Does he face a judge? What happens?
The indictment is likely to be unsealed tomorrow. It appears that Mayor Adams will probably negotiate a surrender. That may be tomorrow. It may be early next week. If he's ultimately in a position where he has to resign, then Jumaane Williams, the public advocate, would take over, and Williams would have to call for a special election, which would be 80 days within the 80 days after Williams called for it.
And then there's another election that's already scheduled for next year. That would take place as well.
Correct.
Okay, exactly how many mayors we would have at the same time, it's almost unclear.
One step at a time.
Exactly.
One step at a time.
Professor, thank you so much. We appreciate it tonight.
Thank you, Professor. And do stay with CBS News New York as we continue to cover this historic indictment. Our morning team will be on top of any developments overnight, and our live team coverage starts tomorrow at 4:30 a.m.
In just a moment here, a theft in broad daylight. A suspect gets away with a woman's wheelchair, but police come to the rescue. We speak with the woman who calls it a miracle.
Plus, brides-to-be scramble as their wedding venue shuts down at the last minute with no warning.
And Otis Livingston looking ahead to sports tonight. Oh.
All right, guys, Francisco Lindor was back in the Met lineup, but Mother Nature had other plans. In fact, she's throwing a monkey wrench in the all-important Mets-Braves series. And the Yankees with some late-inning thunder. The two big boppers played long ball, but would it be enough for the Yankees to clinch the division? Highlights coming up in sports.
A suspected thief caught on camera riding away on an electric wheelchair after police say it was stolen from a woman in Brooklyn. Lori Bordenero spoke to the victim, who got a special surprise today from the NYPD.
Of course, do happen.
For 70-year-old Rosalind Johnson, that miracle is a shiny new electric wheelchair. A surprise gift from the NYPD.
When you do good, good comes back to you, so I try to be good to everybody.
Johnson, who suffered a stroke, depends on her wheelchair to get around. On September 1st, she left church, parked her wheelchair outside this bodega on Troy Avenue, and went inside. When she came out minutes later, her wheelchair was gone.
I was just so shocked, you know. I was mad at first, but I had to remember where I just came from.
Police released this surveillance video capturing a woman driving away in the wheelchair smoking.
God knows it wasn't in his plans for me to catch her, because I'd have took her back to the church with me and taught her a lesson. Thou shalt not steal.
It breaks my heart when I have to see my aunt cry.
On Wednesday, NYPD officers told Johnson they had a few questions for her. When they escorted her outside, her brand new electric wheelchair was waiting.
Those are my heroes. Yes.
Police are still searching for the woman who took off with Johnson's wheelchair. The grandmother of 7 and great-grandmother has no ill will toward the thief.
I forgive her, and she can come to church with me any Sunday.
In Crown Heights, Lori Bordonaro, CBS News, New York.
A wedding venue in New Jersey abruptly shuts down, leaving couples scrambling to find a new place to get married. The Art Factory is a busy event space on Spruce Street in Patterson. The owners filed for bankruptcy in August. Couples with upcoming weddings were told just on Tuesday night that the venue is closed. They were then told they had to file a claim in bankruptcy court for any hope of getting their money back.
We're losing out on the little money we had to try to get a dream wedding to happen. And now to scramble to find somewhere else and try not to cry. It's just a lot.
According to court documents, the owners of Art Factory owe their lenders millions of dollars. One lender told CBS News he has not been paid a dime in more than a year.
To our first alert weather now, Florida is bracing for a direct hit from Hurricane Helene, which could make a landfall as a catastrophic Category 4 storm. Helene hit Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula earlier today, and it is expected to become more powerful as it moves through the Gulf's warm waters ahead of a likely landfall in Florida's Big Bend region tomorrow evening. Winds could reach 130 miles per hour. Even more devastating, though, will likely be the storm surge, which the National Weather Service says could be unsurvivable in some areas. That sounds serious.
Serious, difficult time coming ahead for our friends down to the south, Lonnie.
Oh, boy, that is something to hear. That kind of terminology, verbiage, unsurvivable. And listen, those of us in the weather community, we're all on board with this. The pictures that you just saw down around the Yucatan, keep in mind, first of all, the storm did not make a landfall. It actually shot right through the channel, allowing it not to weaken. And everything that you saw from that video, it's going to be multiplied by like 10 times because it's a Cat 1. This is expected to become a Cat 4 as it makes landfall somewhere here around the Big Bend. A Cat 4 would come on shore sometime late tomorrow night with winds 125, 130 miles per hour. Some gusts could be 140. Now, I think the winds would back down quickly once it starts to interact with the land, right? That's a lot of wind, though, coming on shore. Rainfall up to about a foot or so around landfall. Inland, where it's actually pulling in more tropical moisture, could be a foot and a half or so. And the storm surge, this is a number that you kind of shake your head at. 10 to 18 feet. 10 to 18 feet. I keep saying this is crazy when this land is so flat. This is very swampy right here, so you have no elevation. Putting 18 feet of storm surge, my God, I hope this does not happen. That's the picture right now that we're looking at for Florida. Now, when you watch the storm come on shore, okay, there's your eye. Notice the timestamp, 10:30. Right now it's moving at around 9 to 10 miles per hour. It's got 425 miles to cover. If it's going to stay at 10 miles per hour, you can do that math pretty easily. That's 42 hours, right? Well, this is going to pick up probably twice as much speed as it makes its way to the Big Bend, barreling onshore, curving then inland to the north and west. So not our storm. This is not coming to the northeast. But look at some of these showers that are offshore. This is Friday at 8 p.m. As this sits and spins, it's now pulling in added moisture. Look, it's from the Atlantic, right? And it's bringing it in to some of the areas south of New York City. I would not be surprised. And I've changed the forecast now for Friday, Saturday, even Sunday. I think Helene is that powerful a storm. Even when it's no longer a tropical system, it's a remnant low. I think it's going to give us a chance for some rain now into the weekend. This is what we see outside in our area. Cloud cover, yep, we've had it all day long, 65 degrees. You wake up tomorrow morning, 63 in the city, 55 in Monticello, 61 out around the Hamptons, 77 with a shower chance tomorrow. Could be a rumble of thunder, but you're 77, 5 to 10 degrees warmer. So a couple of little showers out there right now. A better chance is going to be tomorrow. Now, the risk for severe weather, not so much. It's more just like your average thunderstorm, but they could be kicking in wherever you see this yellow, orange, or even red color. I think Thursday, hey, it's got some rain to it, but it does not look to be damaging weather. I think the story for tomorrow is what is going to be hitting the Big Bend area of Florida. In our area, I do have Helene-related rain for Friday, Saturday, maybe even in Sunday. Look, I've covered these things for 25 years, right? And I've watched some monsters. This one is a Cat 1. Cat 1. Mm-hmm. Cat 4 going into that bite where there's nowhere for this water to go. I hope all these projections are wrong, guys. I hope they're wrong.
That's serious.
Thank you, Lonnie.
Thanks. Coming up here in sports, Otis explains how Hurricane Helene is playing a major role in the Mets' postseason plans.
Plus, is that champagne popping in the Bronx, or is the division title still on hold? Yankees highlights right after this.
This is CBS Sports New York, sponsored by your local Ford stores.
Take two. Yankees with another chance to win the division after losing last night to the Orioles. Marcus Stroman was on the hill after Nestor Cortez was placed on the injured list with a left elbow flexor strain. Stroh's show was pretty much a no-show. Gives up 6 straight hits to the Orioles in the first. Jason Dominguez having a tough time in left. I ain't got it. Saw that a couple times last week in Seattle. Orioles scored 3 in the first to take a 3-0 lead. Stroman done after giving up 5 runs in 3 1/3 innings. But the hits just kept on coming. Colton Cowser, RBI double off Clayton Beeter in relief. 17 hits for the Orioles tonight. Yankees trying to come back from 7 runs down. It's Juan Soto with his 41st of the year in the 5th. And then Aaron Judge makes it a 2-run game in the 9th. The captain's 57th of the year. He's now homered in 4 straight games. But it was too tall of a hill to climb for the Yankees. Giancarlo Stanton pops out to end it. 9-7 the final. Yankees still need 1 more win to clinch the division. All right, thanks to Mother Nature, a berth in the playoffs could be on the line Monday. Today and tomorrow's Mets-Braves games have been postponed until then because of inclement weather and will be made up as a doubleheader. The Mets lead the Braves by a game in the race for the final wildcard spot. They'll leave Atlanta tomorrow morning for Milwaukee and play their 3-game series over the weekend. And you can expect to see Francisco Lindor in the lineup in Milwaukee. The Mets MVP candidate was penciled into the lineup before the rainout were announced. He was in the on-deck circle when the game ended last night after missing the previous 8 games with a back issue. Giants will be under the bright lights of Thursday Night Football tomorrow night, facing the Cowboys and their newly highly paid wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, who usually kills them. Cornerbacks Adoree Jackson and Drew Phillips will both miss the game with calf injuries. Jets suddenly looking good, winners of 2 straight. For some fans, they've gone from being same old Jets after the opener to now we're heading for the Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers told us the toughest thing they have to fight from here on out is handling their own success, something the Jets haven't had to deal with for quite some time, let's be honest. He also gives us some ways that can be accomplished.
I think it's consistent messaging from the top and then the leaders in the locker room exemplifying those messages and then just trying to practice good habits. You know, it's not just when you're at the facility, it's what are you doing when you're home? How are you preparing? Games are often won and lost in the Monday to Saturday of a normal week.
That's right. Just stay locked in, no matter if you're at home. Exactly. Home.
Man knows what he's talking about.
He definitely does.
Yes.
He's seen it all.
Yeah.
He's done it all. And back to the Yankees, they have Garrett Cole going tomorrow. I think we're going to finally have that celebration.
All right.
All right.
I think
Garrett Cole, Jets in the Super Bowl, the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
All right.
Coming up, guns and explosives seized, how authorities were tipped off to illegal weapons in New Jersey. man from New Jersey is facing charges after an anonymous tip allegedly led to the discovery of illegal guns, explosives, and other weapons inside his house. Totowa police arrested 35-year-old Kyle Arena on Tuesday. Police say they found guns hidden inside a crawl space along with thousands of rounds of ammunition, knives, and explosives. Officers searched the home after receiving an email. Arena had been posting photos on Facebook groups of himself with guns, including pointing them at people while driving. And we'll be right back. One last check on breaking news before we go. Tonight, sources are confirming to CBS News New York that Mayor Adams has been indicted on federal criminal charges. The mayor, angry tonight and defiant in a statement maintaining his innocence, says he vows to fight and stay in office, even demanding a trial right now. He could appear in court as early as tomorrow. Our team coverage continues first thing in the morning at 4:30 a.m. And speaking of the morning, let's see how the weather's looking, Lonnie.
Okay, you know what, tomorrow, look, we've got a rain chance out there. I do want to revisit one more time the situation with Helene, because what is unbelievable about this storm, whenever I show you a cone, you know how it gets wider and wider? Look at how narrow this cone is. We know that this is heading into the Big Bend of Florida. It could be just devastating in that area. This will be late tomorrow night. 77 with a rain chance tomorrow, 70s for Friday and Saturday as well, with rain chances now throughout the weekend. Not major, but it's there.
Thank you, Lonnie.
And thanks for joining us.
Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.